So, drawing from all of the resources we have used, what have we discovered about this story? That in 5 distinct locations, 5 Ashen cities exist that are identified in the Syrian tablets discovered in Ebla, described by the historian Josephus in AD 75, where we find the same patterns of architecture, the same composition of ashen walls, that in each of these places, hundreds of thousands of balls of sulfur are present, which, when we have them meticulously analyzed, yield a purity level as high or possibly higher than any form of the element known to man. That it would appear there is nowhere else on the planet that such samples exist, to the point where eminent scientists and specialists who know all about their subject admit that they have never seen anything like them. That natural disasters like volcanic activity or industrial accidents fail to explain adequately the baked ash, or the hundreds of thousands of sulfur missiles burning at temperatures that cannot be calculated with modern machinery, that have been embedded in walls and sprayed around the close proximity of these 5 cities, so selectively that no trace of them exists in the terrain in between the 5 sites whatsoever, and above all, that a detailed description of the events, the locations, the substances, and the reasons why this all happened exists in the Bible that we hold in our hands today, that fits together perfectly in the minutest detail, endorsed by clay tablets as clear as the Dead Sea Scrolls' first-century historians and scientific research of the 3rd millennium. Then perhaps it's time to accept such overwhelming evidence not as a myth, but unquestionable reality. But we aren't quite finished yet. There may be one further ingredient, even more fantastic and arresting to consider. We return for a moment to Sodom, just before Simon's party left. The minibus hadn't returned. The Bible story of Lot's wife came to mind.
Remember, do not look back or you will be consumed.
Suddenly, looking towards the direction of Zoar, where they had been earlier that day, something caught Simon's eye. He reached for his camera and took a shot. Facing Sodom, back toward Zoar. First-century historian Josephus had this to say in his first book of the Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 11, paragraph 4, verses 22 and 23. But Lot's wife, continually turning back to view the city as she went from it, and being too nicely inquisitive what would become of it, although God had forbidden her so to do, was changed into a pillar of salt. For I have seen it, and it remains at this day.
Into this cave, quickly!
Dear friends, if anyone tells you Sodom and Gomorrah has not been found, then don't believe them, but please believe what the Bible tells us, that God made these cities of Sodom and Gomorrah an example. If there's nothing to be seen, then how can they be an example? Friends, believe, receive, and follow Jesus.
Peace be with you. Put your finger here and look at my hands. Then reach out your hand and put it in my side. Stop your doubting and believe. my Lord, and my God. Do you believe because you see me? How happy are those who believe without seeing me?
Open your hearts, for if you do believe and receive and follow Jesus in your next life to come, you will not look back and be disappointed.
The cities have been preserved. Has she?